Stay with me now. AFR Talk, and jump over to the Facebook, like the page. That sounds desperate, man. Please like the page. American Family Radio, Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. No, hop on there, comment on the live show as it goes. There's going to be more opportunities at nothingbutTruth.com. Check that out. But it's access, and we're building it. And in essence, we love to engage. So whether you like or dislike, agree or disagree, I do want to make one point here while I have the opportunity to do so. When we're talking about the government shutdown, and we are going to get to your calls, you're not. The idea that people are not able to work because of this and have been deemed non-essential, I hope, and I truly hope and pray, number one, for those folks, but also that you understand that if I criticize government spending, and I talk about the government shutdown in the sense of the macro impact of it, not being consequential in the sense of how it disrupts one's life, that does not mean in any way I want to speak to diminish what you do day in and day out. And I hope you hear my heart on that. Sometimes I want to just have that understanding where, benefit of the doubt, I'm not going to be mocking your work and your ability to put food on the table when a paycheck's not coming in. I felt it myself. I think if you're above the age of 30 these days, you've felt that kind of pressure, and so by no means. And we also, we absolutely put out the fact that when I speak of unions or something on those, I speak to the union leadership and the behavior of union members. I'm not going to each and every union member. I'm not talking about the individual rank and file. I'm talking about them as an organization. I'm talking about the government as an organization. I don't take back anything I've said, mind you. I just want it to be clear, because we are dealing with a recession that technically has been over, but we look at how unemployment's going down, and we're getting kicked right in the stomach, and it's continued. It's not getting better. So I do want you all to realize and recognize, and probably already do, but if not, where I'm coming from. And I'm advocating for things and policies that have worked historically for the betterment of us all, which is empowering the individual and recognizing that God is God and it's not government. And government is a really bad daddy in so many respects. And that's a general statement. Now we go to Brit Hume commenting on the government shutdown and the discussion of the government shutdown and blame on the government shutdown. Brit Hume commenting on this, and he says, look, Republicans are going to be blamed. Roll it.
One reason people think Republicans are to blame for government shutdowns is that so much of the media keep telling them that that's the case. CNN says that House bill, for example, to keep the government open while delaying Obamacare was, quote, a move that makes a shutdown more likely. Later, CNN described the bill simply as a, quote, proposal to derail Obamacare. Politico speaks of House Republicans as deciding whether to, quote, careen into a government shutdown. Ever heard of Congressman Mark Meadows of North Carolina? Why, according to CNN, he is, quote, the man behind the government shutdown. He is, of course, a Republican. Even as balanced a paper as the Wall Street Journal reported this morning that the, quote, simplest path to avoiding a shutdown would be for the House to immediately pass the Senate funding bill. Well, it would be just as simple for the Senate to pass the House bill and send it to the president for him to sign. But such scenarios do not occur to most journalists because they consider it unrealistic to expect the president and his party to compromise, and equally unrealistic for the Republicans not to. This sort of bias is regrettable, to say the least, but it is a fact of life. Some Republican hardliners might need to recognize that when they charge up a hill, they will be taking fire not just from Democrats, but from most of the media as well.
And that's what I spoke to yesterday, but it does sound very interesting from the perspective of one Brit Hume in the sense of looking at those 5 examples of bias. And then I give you one more, and then we take phone calls on this question. 1-888-589-8840. 1-888-589-8840. Who do you blame for the government shutdown? Who do you blame? The Republicans or the Democrats? Or if you want to say President Obama and the left versus the right, however you want to put it. Not about R's or D's, about accountability. Here is Chuck Todd demonstrating some of that bias. NBC News. Roll it.
While there are that small band of loud conservatives who are wanting to, not cave, not give in to anything, do whatever it takes to stop the health care law, there is a growing chorus of moderate Republicans who are telling Boehner, don't do this. You remember how bad this was for the Republican Party 20 years ago. What are you doing? You're putting the majority at risk.
It seems to me that this all comes down to who thinks they will get the blame for a shutdown. I mean, for 17 years, it's been an article of faith that Republicans paid at the polls after the shutdown in the 90s. Right. But these new House Republicans aren't so sure that's true.
There's one article of faith that I always put my analysis in when you see these showdowns. Which party is united? Which party isn't? Democrats are united. There is no Democrat that is ready to break ranks. Republicans are infighting. And that's why you got to assume at some point Boehner's going to blink. Is it today? Or does he allow the government to shut down for 2 or 3 days and then blink?
Joe Manchin, as newsbusters.org has pointed out, and as well as me understanding this, bottom line, Senator Joe Manchin has expressed support for the delay, 1 year for the individual mandate. We've also had some of the House members on the Democratic side express support for some of the measures there. So divided party analysis and always characterizing Republicans as, the loud, vocal, very vocal minority. Again, this is about the debate, the arena, and the fluidity of things. Right now, the question to you, 1-888-589-8840 is this. Who do you blame for the government shutdown? Roll it. We go to Marty, Louisiana. Louisiana, Marty, great to be with you. Who do you blame? All right, we'll try that again. Let me, Marty, you there?
Yes, I am here, Crane.
Thank you for your patience.
What I would like to say is absolutely I blame the Obama administration, and I blame the liberal attitude that's in this country, and especially on this health care issue. It's ridiculous. They want to act as though we all live forever, and that is not the case on this earth. They have subtracted out our great Savior and our King and have tried to create hysteria in our culture. And it's ridiculous how we have allowed, and I say this in the kindest way I possibly can, because as a Christian, in no way do I hate President Obama or his administration, but I do hate their policies, and I hate what he has done to this culture. And he's not alone. This goes back to the Clintons, this attitude of murder. We call it abortion, and it's not abortion. It is murder. And we need to
Marty,
start calling it that as Christians.
Marty, thank you very much for your phone call. 1-888-589-8840. We will continue with the phone calls. I want to get as many people as I can in. I just would like to say this. It's about people understanding that, because it is the taking of a life, no doubt. It is life, not cosmic goo. The other part to that is the problem, I believe, has been the fact that everybody says, don't do this, don't stand up. We'll see the consequence of the action. Losing will provide a victory later. That's not how it works, because in that time, there's a vacuum, and you're not filling it by getting your message out and taking the case to the American people. And that's exactly what Ted Cruz was doing, taking the case to the American people. That was so obvious that the feedback coming back in the polls definitely was showing. Your phone calls, 1-888-589-8840. Robert in the great state of Oregon. Hello, Robert. Thank you for your patience. Who do you blame, sir?
Yes, I blame Obama and his administration, his arrogant and condescending attitude, and the lack of God in our country. We took God out of schools in 1962, and we've been falling ever since. So it's Obama and his administration, and not willing to obey the Constitution. He needs to be removed from office immediately, and his whole administration.
Robert, thank you for your point of view. Obviously, taking God out has a consequence, because when you take God out, you put government in and a statist economy. Now, this probably sounds like I say this a lot, and I do, because I want people to understand government's a bad daddy, and we've made it our God. And when you talk about government being your God, well, look at the health care bill with death panels, and you look at what they're going to ration and how they're going to do it. It's the decision over your life, but it's much more insidious than that, because they'll present something that's like a drug dealer, give you a little taste of it, like a government program, and it will be subsidized, and you will say, oh, it's free, but the incentives or the disincentives to pursue your godly gifts and to maximize those to his glory, that's what happens. It diminishes that and makes you not an individual with extraordinary gifts, which you are. You are a creation, and you are unique, and you have tremendous gifts. God loves you. But what it does, when you go under the government umbrella, it ties you in, and that becomes a shackle. And we've seen that. So what President Obama is doing right now is in essence looking to get people. He believes sincerely this is going to help. Understand. I'll take that. But the impact as adults, we have to look at the results. And the results are not good. Let's go to Paul in North Carolina. Paul, thank you very much for your patience. Welcome. Great to be with you. Who do you blame for the shutdown? Paul?
Well, thank you for taking my call, Crane.
Yes, sir.
You know, of course, the president and the administration have, they're going to push their ideology. And I don't think the president is bothered by the fact that there's a government shutdown, because his Obamacare goes on anyway. Yes. But the Republicans have waited until the midnight hour. They've time and again passed this continuing resolution instead of standing up and doing the responsible thing and forcing them to, before Obamacare comes into effect, to pass a budget and to be physically responsible. And it's only been a handful. So the Republican leadership has not done what they needed to do. And ultimately, we the people have allowed these people to continue to represent us, not represent the will of the people. So,
and that's interesting. Do you think more people are getting involved now, Paul? Do you see people taking an interest? Because I think that's what's happening. Inevitably, this brings in more people, because when you mandate something, unlike an Apple product, you're forced to buy it. So your thoughts, do you think we're going to see a surge in the amount of people because they are connected to this legislation?
Yes, I believe that. I believe that what Ted Cruz has done has opened a lot of people's eyes. For those who have listened to him, he is very articulate and has taken a stand even when no one else will hardly stand with him. And, we the people, it's time for us to stand up and to pay attention to what's going on. And this continued party politics, so what if you don't retain the majority? If you're not willing to use it, what good does it do? If you keep...
what have you won when you retain a majority based on your opponent's agenda? And in essence, what we've seen is they say the right has moved way over here. Actually, we look at the fact of mandated government health care and the purchase of that, and look where we are, and it keeps pulling us away. And as we get more articulate and more pronounced, and evidence builds that the failure of the left is there, they keep moving to the left and attempting to marginalize the right by name-calling oftentimes. And I know there's name-calling on the side of those on the right, and it happens. I'm sure I've done it myself. People have made the comment of rhino or whatever it may be. But on the whole, people say, oh, you've left what we've been. We're 16.9 in the hole. We're 16.9 in the hole. We have evidence when it comes to abortion now with what we have in scans that we see its life. We have people who've equated women's rights with forcing people to administer contraceptive and abortive patients and provide the health care that they are morally and religiously opposed to. Who's moved? Who's gone? Who's the radical there by stripping away the rights of those with religious beliefs? We keep moving, and we go to Bob in Virginia. Bob, I want to say thank you for your patience. Welcome. Your thoughts. Who is to blame? Who do you blame for the government shutdown?
Oh, it's real simple. It's obviously the Democrats and the president themselves, because if you look at the House, I've always felt the House represented the people and the Senate represented the business of America. And the House has done listened to the people and said, we need to slow this thing down. The Senate hasn't. And the president is supposed to mediate between the two. But since he is so aligned with the Senate, it's like he's ruling them and telling them this is the way it's got to be.
Bob, you have hit a wonderful point that actually is a segue to next hour. President Obama, being a president of the American people, without hyphens and without class warfare, has he been the uniter? We'll take a look at that. And how did we get to a place where this became the law of the land? A brief review. That coming up after American Family News, onenewsnow.com. Thank you so much for your phone calls. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. We will continue. Incidentally, I didn't know which way your calls were going to go, so I was taking them in the order. I want you to know that I welcome people disagreeing. Thank you very much. All right. Stay tuned for the news, and then I am back with more truth. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth, AFR Talk.